Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make a crispy oatmeal cookie. So the first thing you need to do is preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 190 degrees Celsius. And then you will need 2 baking sheets, and you can either line them with a piece of parchment paper like I've done here, or you could just lightly butter or even spray them with one of those nonstick sprays. So if you're using a stand mixer like I am here, use a paddle attachment, but you could just as easily use a hand mixer for this. So the first thing we need is 1 cup, that's 226 grams of butter. I like to use the unsalted butter because I like the flavor better, but you could use salted if that's what you want. And have it at room temperature. And then what we're going to do first is just beat the butter just until it gets nice and creamy and smooth, like maybe a minute or so. Okay, so just scrape down the sides of your bowl. And then we're going to add both white and brown sugar to this oatmeal cookie. So I'm going to add 1 cup, 200 grams of granulated white sugar, and 2/3 of a cup, which is 140 grams of light brown sugar. If you're not weighing it, if you're measuring it, make sure you really pack it into your measuring cup. And then I'm just going to beat this just until it's all incorporated, you know, maybe a couple minutes. Okay, so again, scrape down the sides if you need to, and make sure you do the bottom. And then next, we're going to add 2 large eggs and have those at room temperature, along with 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And then an oatmeal cookie is quite soft and chewy in texture. So what I'm going to do is just add, just to help with that really nice soft and chewy texture, I'm going to add just a 1/2 tablespoon of light corn syrup. Now, if you don't have corn syrup, you could use golden syrup, you could use honey, or glucose, or you could just leave it out. So it's really not that much, but I just find just a little bit helps with the texture. And then just beat that in. Okay, as you can see, this is a really fast and easy batter to make, like all cookies, or most cookies, I should say. So now, that's our wet ingredients. So now for our dry ingredients. In a separate bowl, I have 2 cups, that's 260 grams of all-purpose flour. You may know that as plain flour. And to that, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Now the baking soda is a leavener, of course, but it also, when you use it in this cookie, it helps to make the edges of the cookie nice and crisp. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm using the kosher salt. Now, if you use salted butter, I would just leave out that salt. And then what I'm also adding, a little different, is just 1 teaspoon of ground coffee. Not the instant. This is like just the ground coffee you use in your coffee maker in the morning. I find it just adds a little depth of flavor to the cookie. Now, again, you could leave that out if you don't like coffee. And then just whisk your ingredients together, because you want to make sure that baking soda is really mixed into your flour. And then I'm just going to add my dry ingredients to the batter and just start at low speed. You don't want that flour coming up in your face, just until it's mixed in. Okay, so I'll just show you. It's not quite mixed in, all of the flour, but what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to scrape down my sides. But I'm going to start, these oatmeal cookies have lots of extras in it, the batter, so I'm going to start adding that now. So I'm going to add 1.5 cups, that's 360 milliliters of rolled oats. I'm using the old-fashioned rolled oats because they're a little thicker and than the instant ones, which then gives us a more chewy texture to our cookie. If you don't have old-fashioned, you could use instant. And then I'm also going to be adding 1.5 cups, that's 360 milliliters of chocolate chips. Now you could use semi-sweet, bittersweet, white, milk chocolate, or you could even kind of use a combination of those. So I'm just going to add some of my chocolate chips. Now, if you have a stand mixer like I have, you can do this in your mixer. But if you have a hand mixer, you might want to start folding these ingredients just by hand. Okay. I'm going to add the rest chocolate chips. Okay. Got a lot of batter here, so I'm just gonna make sure you get down to the bottom and make sure that the rolled oats and the chocolate chips are mixed into all the batter. That's why, you know, you might want to do this by hand if you don't have a heavy-duty mixer. Okay. So now the last kind of a surprise ingredient is I'm going to put in some rice cereal. That's why I call these crispy oatmeal cookies, because we're adding 1.5 cups, that's 360 milliliters of rice cereal. And that's what, I mean, these, you have the crispy edges of the cookie, you have the soft and chewy texture, and then this just kind of adds this little bit of crispy crunch. Now, gently mix this in. Again, you could do it by hand. Okay, so that's our batter. Now this makes a lot of cookies. If you're making, I'm going to make large cookies here, you will probably get about 30. If you make small ones, you could get 60. So if you think that's a little too much, then just half the recipe. Okay, so to form our cookies, like I said, I'm going to make large cookies. So I'm using an ice cream scoop. That's maybe a little less than 1/4 cup, 60 milliliters. You could just use a 1/4 cup measuring. Or if you want to make smaller, you could just do like a tablespoon or so onto your cookie sheet. Just try to make all your cookies the same size, so they'll bake in the same time. Now, if your batter was really soft, you might want to refrigerate the batter for like an hour to firm it up. And what is really great about this batter, you could just store it in the fridge for a couple days and then kind of bake your cookies off when you want some. What I would do if I was going to do that, I would form my cookies like this. Just put them all on a cookie sheet, cover it with a piece of plastic wrap, and pop it in the fridge. And then you can just take them out and bake them when you want. Because while the outside edges are nice and crispy, that if you store the cookies overnight in an airtight container, they will soften. So that's a good thing about baking them and eating them the same day. So I would space them. They do, because I'm making these large ones, you know, Don't put too many on your cookie sheet. I'm just going to put 6. And then just with my fingers, I'm just going to flatten those mounds. Like so. Okay, so now, depending on the size. For this size, I would say anywhere from 10 to 13 minutes. They will spread. And what you're looking for, because everybody's oven is a little different, what you're looking for is the outside edges of the cookies to be nice and golden brown, but the centers of the cookies will still be quite soft. Okay, our crispy oatmeal cookies are done. As you can see, the outsides are beautifully golden brown, while the inside, if you can see I'm touching it, it's quite soft. So you really can vary the texture of the oatmeal cookie depending on how long you bake it. If you want a little more soft and chewy, bake it a little less. If you want it more crispy, you can bake it a little more. Now, these are really quite soft. So I would let them cool on the baking sheet on a wire rack for about 5 minutes and then transfer them off of the baking pan onto a wire rack to finish cooling. So you can cover and store these for a few days. So until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.